Lost Islamic innovations shaping tomorrow's technology. The secrets that built our future. What if I told you artificial intelligence began not in Silicon Valley, but in Baghdad? That robots were first drawn by a man who whispered Bismillah before he built them? That the algorithms running your phone trace back to a believer who saw math as worship? This isn't science fiction, it's Islamic history, lost in time, waiting for us to rediscover. The hum of machines echoed softly through the vast hall of the Museum of Lost Civilizations in Istanbul. Among the scattered visitors, a young engineer named Arif walked slowly, his eyes fixed on the ancient exhibits glowing under glass cases. He wasn't there as a tourist. He was searching for something, a connection, a missing link between his love for modern technology and the spiritual heritage he had always felt slipping away. He had grown up hearing stories of Elon Musk, Newton, Tesla, and Einstein, yet his grandmother would often whisper names that sounded alien to his schoolbooks. Al-Jazari, Ibn Sina, Al-Khwarizmi, Taqi al-Din. Names buried under centuries of dust, erased from the modern narrative. Arif stopped before a rusted mechanical contraption labeled replica of Al-Jazari's elephant clock, 1206C. His breath caught. The gears, pulleys, and mechanisms were intricate beyond belief. This was 800 years ago, he whispered. An old man beside him, dressed in a simple gray robe, smiled. You look surprised. I'm an engineer, Arif said, his tone tinged with disbelief. Something like this complexity, was supposed to be impossible before the Renaissance. The old man chuckled, his eyes twinkling. Oh, my boy. History was written by those who forgot who invented the ink. Those words hit Arif like a thunderclap. Who are you? Arif asked. The old man didn't answer directly. Instead, he pointed to another exhibit, a dusty astrolabe with faint Arabic inscriptions. Do you see this? Ibn al-Shatter built this in the 14th century. His planetary models were so precise that Copernicus copied them, almost word for word. But whose name do the textbooks remember? Arif stepped closer. The intricate metalwork shimmered under the lights. He felt as if the engravings whispered verses of a forgotten legacy. The old man continued, before algorithms powered your computers, Al-Khwarizmi gave birth to algebra, what you call algebra. Without him, your code would have no logic. Your AI, no structure. Your world, no order. Arif was silent. The realization was overwhelming. Modern civilization, beneath all its glittering machines and code, was standing on the bones of forgotten believers who once saw knowledge as worship. The old man walked slowly toward another corner of the hall. Come, let me show you something most people overlook. Arif followed him to a small, unlit section. The plaque read, The Lost Manuscripts of the House of Wisdom. The old man touched the glass. This, my boy, was Baghdad, 9th century, a world where faith and reason were not enemies, but twins. Muslims translated and expanded Greek, Persian, Indian sciences, not to imitate, but to understand Allah's creation. They believed each atom was a verse of revelation waiting to be read. Arif's voice trembled. But what happened? Why did we forget? The old man sighed deeply. We lost humility before we lost knowledge. When faith became ritual instead of inspiration, pens stopped moving, and the ink that once illuminated the world dried in arrogance and neglect. Arif looked down, guilt washing over him. The old man smiled softly. But perhaps, my boy, Allah's wisdom never dies. It merely hides, waiting for those who seek it again. At that moment, the museum lights flickered. A faint blue glow emerged from the glass of the astrolabe. Arif stepped back, startled. The old man's form shimmered, like light passing through water. Wait, what's happening? Arif gasped. The man's voice echoed, now ethereal. Time bends for truth. If your heart seeks it sincerely, perhaps it will show you. The room dissolved around Arif. He blinked and found himself standing under the golden dome of Baghdad, centuries ago. He heard voices, the scratching of quills, the scent of parchment thick in the air. Scholars moved around him, Al-Kindi discussing optics, Al-Khwarizmi testing medicine, Al-Jazari sketching machines that ran on water power. It was as if he had stepped into the very heartbeat of the Islamic golden age. A young scholar with ink-stained fingers smiled at him. "You're late to class, my friend. The caliph will be displeased." Arif stammered. "Class?" The scholar laughed. "Yes, the daily symposium. Today, Ibn al-Haytham will discuss how light travels, through the air, through glass, through the soul." Arif followed him into a large hall lined with scrolls and diagrams. Ibn al-Haytham stood near a window, holding a small glass lens. "Light," he said, "is not merely a thing we see. It teaches us how to see. It reveals Allah's design. To study, it is to witness his artistry." Arif watched in awe as Ibn al-Haytham explained reflection and refraction, drawing geometric lines that predicted the laws of optics centuries before Newton. He whispered to himself, "Cameras, telescopes, even the science of vision, it all began here." As he looked around, he saw Al-Jazari showing children how gears and hydraulics could move limbs, the first hints of robotics. He saw Taqi al-Din building a celestial clock that measured time with incredible precision, the grandfather of modern computing. And then, through the crowd, he saw the old man again. "Do you see now, Arif? These were not just inventions. They were acts of worship. Every machine, every formula, a form of dhikr." Arif's eyes filled with tears. They were worshiping Allah through science. "Yes," the old man said, "because to them, uncovering the secrets of creation was a way to say Subhanallah with the mind." As they walked through the house of wisdom, Arif noticed a young boy watching a pendulum swing. "What's he doing?" The old man smiled. "He is measuring time, centuries before Galileo. Muslims saw time as sacred because every second was a gift to serve Allah." They stepped into another chamber, where a massive globe rotated, covered with detailed constellations. "Astrolabes like this guided travelers through deserts and seas," the old man explained. "But more than that, they guided hearts toward the Qibla. Even navigation was spiritual." Suddenly, the ground trembled. Shouts filled the air. Flames rose outside. Baghdad was under siege. The Mongols had come. Arif saw scholars rushing to save manuscripts. Scrolls fell into the river, their ink bleeding into the Tigris like tears. "No," he screamed, trying to grab books. The old man placed a hand on his shoulder. "This was the day knowledge drowned, but Allah preserves what he wills." Arif turned. "So it's all gone?" "Not gone," said the old man. "Hidden in the hearts of those who still believe that knowledge is light, not arrogance. In the minds that refuse to separate science from soul." The fire raged higher, but the old man's form began to fade. "Find them, Arif. Find the legacy that breathes in you. The world is chasing artificial intelligence, but the real miracle is divine intelligence. Bring it back." A flash of light engulfed him. Arif gasped and found himself back in the museum. The lights were normal again. The astrolabe stood still. The old man was gone, but something had changed. Inside Arif's pocket was a small parchment, old but glowing faintly. It bore a verse. "And they ask you about the Spirit. Say, the Spirit is from the command of my Lord, and you have been given of knowledge only a little." Surah Al-Isra, 17 hours 85 minutes. He clutched it tightly. Tears streamed down his face. Weeks later, Arif stood before a global conference of engineers and scientists. His presentation was titled, "The Forgotten Algorithms of Faith." He spoke of how ancient Muslim scholars blended faith and reason, how Al-Khwarizmi's algorithmic patterns were precursors to AI, how Al-Jazari's mechanical design predicted robotics, how Ibn Sina's healing methods were rooted in balance, not just biology. He ended with the words, "When we separate science from soul, we create machines that think but don't feel. When we reunite them, we create technology that heals." The audience fell silent. And then, applause erupted like thunder. Arif looked up at the sky and whispered, "I found it, my teacher." That night, he returned to the museum. The astrolabe glowed once more, faintly like a heartbeat. And for a moment, he thought he saw the old man standing beside it, smiling. If this story touched your heart, remember, Islam never feared knowledge, it perfected it. Let's revive the light our ancestors left behind. Subscribe to Deeninminute for more stories that prove faith and science were never meant to be enemies, but companions in worship. The world is rediscovering what Islam already knew centuries ago.